Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for coming back to my channel. Now, let's take a look at the meaning of 2020. 2020. Definition, deliverance. 2020, Greek definition, to let shine, to dawn. Strong's exhaustive concordance, begin, dawn. To begin to grow light, begin to dawn. 20. Definition, exuberant, exaltation, wild joy, ecstatic delight, exhilaration. Properties of the number 20, symbolism. Represent the god solar for the Mayans. Represent the fundamental differentiation which creates in the world two relatively antagonistic poles, and particularly the opposition, spirit matter. This number is the devil, that is to say, the material world opposite to the spiritual world. The number 20 is considered as ominous for Saint Jerome because it indicates the universal fight, but it also represents the source of all energy of the world. This number is represented in Hebrew by the letter Kaf in form of open hand, to seize or hold, the 11th mystery of Tarot, which corresponds to this letter, and consequently with this number is the force, which expresses energy, the activity, the work. Number associated to the resurrection or to reincarnation. Bible. Samson had judged Israel for 20 years. God asked Moses to make the census of all the community of Israel's being 20 years old and more. Jacob spent 20 years at Laban before to escape. General. 1 month in the religious calendar Maya contained 20 days. According to the French book Le Cybernetic de Son, or si on voulait, the cybernetics of senses, or if the man wanted. Jose Jackson and John Rowlett speak about the manufactorial five. They distinguish the 5 mental or subjective senses and the 5 objective or physiological senses. These 10 senses act in 2 directions, from the man towards the outside and outside towards the man, giving 20 senses, as we have 4 times 5 fingers. Cybernetics, control theory, as it is applied to complex systems. Cybernetics is associated with models in which a monitor compares with what is happening to a system at various sampling times with some standard of what should be happening, and a controller adjusts the system's behavior accordingly. The term cybernetics comes from the ancient Greek word kybernetikos, good at steering, it referring to the art of helmsman. In the first half of the 19th century, the French physicist André-Marie Ampère, in his classification of the sciences, suggested that the still non-existent science of the control of governments be called cybernetics. The term was soon forgotten, however, and it was not used again until the American mathematician Norbert Wiener published his book Cybernetics in 1948. In that book, Wiener made reference to an 1868 article by the British physicist James Clerk Maxwell on governors, and pointed out that the term governor is derived via Latin from the same Greek word that gives rise to cybernetics. The date of Wiener's publication is generally accepted as marking the birth of cybernetics as an independent science. A few significant dates this month. January the 10th is the full moon. According to Torah calendar, New Year for trees, Tu B'Shvat, is on January the 11th, which is the next day of the full moon. 15 Shvat, Tu B'Shvat, what and how. The 15th of Shvat is the new year for trees. known as Tushbishvat. According to biblical law, there is a 7-year agricultural cycle concluding with the sabbatical year when the Holy Temple stood in Jerusalem. On years 1, 2, 4, and 5 of this cycle, farmers were required to separate a tenth of their produce and eat it in Jerusalem. This tithe is called Masa Sheni, the second tithe, because it is in addition to the 10% which is given to the Levites. On the 3rd and 6th years of the cycle, instead of the owners eating the Masa Sheni in Jerusalem, they gave this second tithe to the poor, who were permitted to consume it whenever they wished. It was therefore of vital importance to ascertain when the new year started for produce. Our rabbis established that a fruit which blossomed before the 15th of Shevat is produce of the previous year. If it blossomed afterwards, it is produce of the new year. By comparison, grains, vegetables, and legumes have the same new year as humans, the 1st of Tishrei. Why is this so? In the Mediterranean region, the rainy season begins with the festival of Sukkot. It takes approximately 4 months from Sukkot, the 15th of Tishrei, until the 15th of Shevat, for the rains of the new year to saturate the soil and trees and produce fruit. All fruits which blossom beforehand are a product of the rains of the previous year and are tied together with the crops of the previous year. Although this day is Rosh Hashanah for trees, we attach special significance to this holiday because man is compared to the tree of the field. Deuteronomy 20:19. Through cultivating strong roots, faith, and commitment to God, we produce many fruits. Torah and Mitzvah. Martin Luther King Jr. Day, January the 20th. Chinese New Year, January the 25th. The meaning of the Mayan calendar and day within the context of modern astrology. The Mayan long count calendar was developed around 200 BCE in Iztapa, Mexico, using data calculated over hundreds of years. The Mayan long count start day, according to scholars, began on August 11, 3114 BCE, and the target end date will be on December 21st, year 2012. The Mayan long count end date represents the rare alignment of the winter solstice sun crossing through the galactic equator along the dark band of stars at the center of the Milky Way galaxy and the ecliptic that will occur exactly 11:11 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time. Our solar system, the Sol system, is located in our galaxy, the Milky Way, at the outer reaches of the spiral arm, the Orion arm, and is approximately 26,000 light years from the center. As the solar system orbits the Milky Way galaxy, it follows a path that travels above and below the equator of the galactic plane. The Mayan calendar is based on a 260-day astrological almanac that is based on a sacred divinatory tradition. The Mayans systemized time in blocks of 20 years and grouped these in sets of 13. The core of the Mayan calendar is a prophetic calendar based on 13 numbers and 20 astrological day signs. The 13-number cycle through the Mayan day signs 20 times is equal to 260 days for a complete cycle. A complete 260-day cycle is called a Tzolk'in by the Mayans and closely correlates the Venus visibility interval of 263 days. According to the Mayans, the completion of a long count is 5,125 years. The long count is subdivided into 260 sections, resulting in nearly 20-year units of time that correlates closely with the Jupiter and Saturn cycle of 19.86 years. In modern astrology, the Jupiter-Saturn cycle is considered of the greatest importance in shaping the course of history and the development of the evolution of long-term social structures, religion, law, philosophy, and government. These 20 intervals are known to the Maya as cotton. Cottons are generational markers for the Maya that are marked by sacred ceremonies, each having their own set of prophecies associated with them. So there are 260 cottons in the long count, and December 21st is the end of the last cotton. Although there is no clear prophecy, according to Mayan scholars, for the ending of the long count on December 21st, there are prophecies for the groupings of the 13 cottons, known as the short count, found in the Maya sacred book of the Chilam Balam. The cottons were wet by the Mayan priests for purpose of divination in tandem with the Tzolk'in, the 260-day calendar that foretold the fate of their civilization for that particular period. Each of the 13 cottons was named after its concluding day sign Ahu, Lord, and each day sign had a detailed and explicit fated outcome attached to it. The most recent cotton for Ahu, which began April 6, 1993, states that this will be a time of great difficulty, resulting in mankind's disharmony of spirit. According to the Chilam Balam, the delineation of cottons for Ahu prophecy is as follows. There will be scarcities of corn and squash, and this will lead to a great mortality. This is the cotton of remembering and recording knowledge. According to the Mayan elders, during the period of 4 cotton 1993 to 2012, resources will be scarce, natural disasters will increase, and the people will be troubled and anxious about what the future may bring, a period of remembering old and recording knowledge. From this, many Mayan elders believe that the Mayan masters will reincarnate during this period to spread the wisdom and knowledge throughout the world to ease the time of purification and open the way for collective transformation. According to Mayan elders, during the period of Akun, 2012 to 2032, scarcity in essential resources, food, fuel, and water, and economic distress will continue to intensify as natural disasters will accelerate and increase in frequency. This cotton also states the end of the word of God. For the Mayan elders, this will be a period where there will be collapse of false belief systems, both sacred, religious, and secular, such as science based on mechanistic materialism, as a new paradigm begins to emerge. Thus, people will lose confidence in religious leaders and government officials, leading to doubt and distrust of world leadership in providing the necessary solution and guidance during this period of unprecedented global crisis. The prophecy states this is a time for uniting for a cause. The Mayan elders say this will be a period of suppression of dissenting voices in all areas of life by governments creating civil unrest that will lead to violent forms of group defiance and rebellion. Nations will suppress other nations, groups will suppress other groups, and the use of violent force will increase. Therefore, we are likely to see a re-emergence of large-scale organized protest movements around the world, with the primary driving issues being social and economic inequality, corporate greed, and the unwarranted influence of banks and the financial sector on government. The horoscope of the Mayan calendar and date December 21st, 2012. The Mayan calendar end date is set for December 21st, 2012 at 11:11 a.m. GMT in Chichen Itza, Mexico. From the perspective of contemporary Western astrology, the horoscope for this cosmological event shows the solstice sun at 0° Capricorn at the world point shortly before dawn. The most outstanding configuration in the horoscope is a yard, also known as the finger of God, that consists of two planets sextile 60-degree aspect in relation to each other, with both quincunx 150-degree aspect in relation to a third. In the Mayan end date horoscope, Saturn 8-degree Scorpio and Pluto 8-degree Capricorn are in exact sextile with each other, with both in quincunx to Jupiter 8-degree Gemini. The yard configuration aspect activates a powerful conduit of energy from the two harmonious sextile planets in the direction of the quincunx planet Jupiter. The meaning of the calendar change. The Mayan elders have stated that the meaning of the long calendar change is a time of purification and a period where humanity must undergo a collective spiritual death, rebirth, transformation in order to overcome its dark, destructive nature. Therefore, we are not facing a single moment of change, but an era of change. According to Jose Aguilares, the person who put the Mayan 2012 end date on the map, says everything that we know, everything that we are is about to undergo a substantial and radical alteration. The end result is that the human mind body is evolving so that we can become empowered multidimensional beings. The descent of spirit into matter. Supramental 12th to 13th level. Council of Elders is 11th. Crystalline Palace 10th. Crystalline Achieves 9th. Intergalactic 8th. Ascended 7th. Angelic 6th. And you can pause this video and take a look at this graph yourself. Time is accelerating due to dark fats. The solar system is passing through high energy particles zone in space. The high energy particles are bombarding our bodies, affecting our DNA, thereby increase cellular frequency. Therefore, thought to action. For example, the law of attraction will accelerate along with the general rates of cause and effect. If Aguilas is right, science of matter consciousness will likely increase as we begin the Mayan fifth age of the sun, which is the age of Aquarius. Therefore, we can expect a dramatic increase in matter-conscious states, such as intensified level of synchronicity, unique timing of events that seemed related but not caused one by the other, and awakening to ESP and telepathy, to know things outside the rational mind, heightened or heightened altered states of awareness that allow one to see and feel energy fields, and the ability to remote feel the future. Western astrology also indicates that we are also in an era of change based on the Bible planetary cyclic index between year 2001 to 2022, and a succession of major outer planetary alignments positioned on the cardinal points happening between 2008 to 2016. Planetary cyclic index. The cyclic index is plotted by calculating 10 subsets of angular separations of the 5 outer planets, Jupiter through Pluto. The angular separations of Jupiter, Saturn, Jupiter, Uranus, Jupiter, Neptune, etc., all the way through the 10th subset, Neptune, Pluto, are added together and plotted on a graph. The ascending arcs of the graph are times when the planets are moving toward opposition. In the example above, the 4 outer planets began moving toward opposition after 1914 and were furthest apart shortly after the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction in September 1921. The upward phase of the cyclic index indicates the period's economic growth, expansion, and development. The upward phase coincides with collective optimism, social stability, advances in civil rights and emancipatory movements, creative breakthroughs and innovation, scientific ingenuity, public unrestraint, and periods marked with prolific artistic creativity. Descending arcs are times when the planets are moving toward conjunction. Downward phase of the cyclic index coincides with periods of economic contraction and financial crisis. The downward phase coincides with societal breakdown, increasing pessimism, political instability, reactionary movements, resource crisis, periods marked by confusion, general chaos, restraint and moderation, global tension, military conflict, and destructive resource wars. I'll leave a link below so you can go through these graphs yourself later after this video. Uranus Pluto. The general tenor of Uranus Pluto alignments is revolution. The Dionysian Pluto impulse for revolutionary empowerment, and Promethean Uranus thirsts for radical change and innovative reform to establish a new order. Uranus-Pluto alignments have historically correlated with periods of social breakdown and the collapse of old forms and structures as potent instinctual forces emerge from within the collective that are stronger than the existing power structure to contain it. Below is a listing of the Uranus Pluto major alignments, the starting and ending dates accompanied with the most significant historical events during the 220-year period following the discovery of Uranus in 1781. I'll leave a link below so you can go through these events yourself after this video. (2012 to 2024). A pronounced drop of the Barbados Planetary Cycle Index occurs 497 days after the Mayan end date. During the peak of the Uranus-Pluto square alignment in the spring of 2014, the cyclic index continues to decline until it reaches its baseline throw in 2020 to 22, which is starting this year, during the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, and remains until 2024. The Great Recession that began in 2007, phase 1 in the United States under George Bush during the Uranus-Saturn opposition, when the Saturn-Pluto square was in applying up, was followed by a liquidity crisis in 2008. This was followed by a sovereign debt in Europe and global bank solvency crisis in 2010. Phase 2. As the Uranus-Pluto square was in applying up since 2010, the deteriorating global economy and financial markets have been artificially bolstered by massive amounts of monetary liquidity by the central banks. As we approach the Mayan long count in late 2012, we are close to the global economic tipping point, phase 3, where sovereign debt and bank solvency issues will reach crisis level in Asia, such as Japan, which is already buckling. We should expect a period of continued global economic contraction leading to depression level status in certain nations, including the United States. Friction over trade and resources among nations, high unemployment leading to large-scale protests, and acceleration of extreme weather and general world decay from 2012 to 2022. Saturn conjunction Pluto 2020. Saturn conjunct Pluto will be exact at 22 degrees Capricorn on January 12, 2020. In 2020, there will be a build-up of a grand stellium, including Jupiter and Ceres also. Saturn rules fear, and Pluto is the taboo and unseen. Saturn-Pluto is the deep state, the hidden hand, and death cults. These are both planets and of endings, but it is both a death and resurrection aspect that contains many paradoxes. With this conjunction in Capricorn, the most obvious meaning is of the collapse of structures and having to rebuild again from the foundations up. No more papering over the cracks. Right now we are experiencing the conjunction until February 10th, then later this year, September 10th to October 13th. 2020 Crystalline Vision towards peace and spiritual purification. While 12-12-12 marked the opening of a gateway to a new dimension of reality that is now unfolding before us as we have crossed the threshold beyond December 21st, year 2012. A new 2020 vision is becoming apparent as we reflect on our crystalline being and embark on a rebirth and purification of our spirits. The crystal skulls continue to support us in rising our consciousness throughout this time of uplift moment and ascension. The Mayans do not believe that the world is ending, but that a new world is beginning. This is the end of the fourth world and beginning of the fifth world, is the fifth dimension. The truth is that what we as a society need to do is look at why did the Mayans vanish as a society and how can we prevent a similar fate. As far as the crystal skulls, they have endured time and shifts through the ages, even better than a mirror could preserve. Whether ancient, old, or contemporary, crystal skulls have access to primordial wisdom. In the present time, one may not be able to see what has vanished, or if the world is now in a better place than an alternate reality, but certainly those once close to crystal skulls can attest that their lives have been enriched by crystal skulls. The lesser known fact that the Mayans worked with several calendars and that to them a threshold like 2012 was more like an opportunity to shift our consciousness, sort of like an opportunity for a universal resolution, similar to the New Year resolutions we have been accustomed to in modern society, but to a much grander universal level and power. What is the next one? Maybe we can achieve a crystalline vision for 2020. February 2nd, 2020. The year 2020 will be the first year since 2012 where at least two digits are the same. February 2nd, 2020 will be the first time we encounter a palindromic date 0202 2020. Day written out numerically is the same when turned back to front. February 2nd, year 2020 will not only be the next palindromic date, but it will be the first triple threats in eons, meaning that no matter your culture and how you write the date, it will retain its reflective quality. The weekend and date of February 2nd, year 2020 is not just a number. It is actually a very unique and powerful day. It is Imbolc Day, which is the midpoint between the solstice and equinox, and a celebration of Mother Earth, and it is also known as Purification Day. In Europe, it is officially the Day of Candlemas, which is the festival of light. It marks the opening out of the natural world ovulation and emerges into the pure light of spring. And it is the time for rebirth of the spirit. It is the promise of renewal and of hidden potential of earth awakening and the life force stirring. It is the time to let go of the past and to look to the future, clearing out the old, making both outer and inner space for new beginnings. It is a good time for wish making or making a dedication. It is also known as the time of germination and the quickening of the year. I hope you guys like this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.